Urban legends are by far some of the most interesting stories or pieces of lore to go into. Every city, every state or province, and every country has their own series of creepy, disturbing, or just plain weird urban legends. Some may be true, and others most likely false. Whichever it may be, the most interesting thing about researching any urban legend is that it gives you a glimpse of that society's culture. For instance, you look at Japan or predominantly Asian parts of the world, and you'll come to find that a lot of their urban legends deal with tragedy, ghosts, psychological horror, and often carry a theme of revenge. Whatever that may say about those places is not for me to give an opinion on, but it's interesting to see these elements prevalent in their collection of urban legends. So to be upfront, the legend we'll be looking into today comes from Korea, and is actually about a serial killer. This one particularly piqued my interest because it is somewhat rare to find an Asian urban legend about, well, a serial killer. You typically find those here in the States. That's not to say legends about your typical serial killer don't exist outside of the US, but simply they are few and far between. So, with that out of the way, how about we get to the legend of the Korean serial killer, the Cuckoo Man. The Cuckoo Man, or the Cuckoo as others call it, is an urban legend that spread like wildfire in Korea not too long ago. A few years back, some of the earliest reports of the Cuckoo Man date back to 2010. Rumors of an insane man lurking around the corners of quiet streets began to circulate around high school and college campuses. The insane man, whose appearance varies from account to account, was dubbed by those who told the legend, the Cuckoo Man. And I'm sure I don't need to say, but cuckoo is basically another way to say crazy or insane. However, his name doesn't derive from the colloquial way of calling someone crazy, but rather the unusual sounds he makes when he spots his next victim. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Anyway, as the legend goes, the Cuckoo Man is said to lie in wait until his next unfortunate victim, or victims, approaches. One of the earliest reported sightings of the Cuckoo Man goes as followed. A group of young girls, ages reported to be between 15 and 17, were walking home one night after staying over at a friend's house to study. The night was quiet, and the desolate streets made it so every footstep that clashed with the pavement would echo across the city. The girls weren't scared though. They've made this passage multiple times prior, and not once did they get mugged or attacked. That of course would soon change. As they passed alleyways, the girls began to hear a faint whisper. They could hear someone calling out as they walked, "Cuckoo, cuckoo." Curious about what was making that bizarre sound, the girls looked around to investigate, only to be confronted by a man who ran up and attacked the group of teens. All of them were badly injured, cut up and bruised, but they managed to escape with their lives. From then on, reports of the strange man had been flooding the police stations all around Korea. Some reports claim that many more girls were maimed, while others were reportedly killed. One of the more bizarre stories of the Cuckoo Man was when he allegedly attacked a group of girls. He apparently went back and forth whacking each one of them with his bat. Police were of course called, but he managed to flee before cops could arrive. The incident would also leave 5 of them seriously injured. Because no one knew what the Cuckoo Man wanted exactly, many would formulate a story, an urban legend of an urban legend if you will. And though a bit generic, it's still a tad terrifying. As the story goes, the Cuckoo Man was a patient at a mental institution who suffered from a severe mental illness, or multiple depending on the version you're reading. Committed into the institution, the man would eventually be attacked by another patient, a female, brutally leaving him scarred and disfigured. He recovered, but the incident would leave him with a deep-seated hatred against women. One day, when a hospital attendee came into the room to check on him, he was nowhere in sight. Authorities attempted to look for the insane man, but weren't able to. After some time, they gave up, and the Cuckoo Man, allegedly, is still at large to this day. In short, the legend is actually a pretty good one. Like I said earlier, it's a tad generic. I'm sure you can find one just like it here in the States. That said, I may consider it generic, but because there aren't many like them floating around in Asian territories, I could see how it would really scare someone living there. Still, one question remains. Is the legend real? Honestly, I don't think so. As far as I can tell, a lot of the sightings reported can't exactly be validated. Sure, there are a few real-life stories somewhat similar, and I use the term loosely to the Cuckoo Man. For example, like the story of Issei Sagawa. There isn't anything that I could find that inherently points to the legend being real, however. But on the off chance that you somehow come across the Cuckoo Man, I should probably warn you. There are times that he may ask you some bizarre question like, "Is Mr. Cuckoo cuckoo?" or "Do you know the cuckoo?" If you don't have an answer, he will immediately attack you. So in general, it's best you just answer yes. If he's real, you really don't want to get on his bad side.